Hello, my dear little students. Welcome to the session of bond parameters. Parameters are quantities or values which define a particular system. In this case, a bond. So, what are the parameters in this case? The bond length, the bond angle, the bond order, and the bond enthalpy. So, first of all, let us understand what is a bond. Well, in the case of this hydrogen atom over here, we have a centrally located positively charged mass, that's the nucleus, and the outermost orbital space, or otherwise this electron which is located in the orbital space. The distance between the center of the nucleus and the outermost orbital is termed as the atomic size or the atomic radius, depending upon which we could be able to discuss the different bond parameters which we have mentioned some seconds ago. Well, looking at the bond formation, we got to have the interactive forces in play. So whenever we see two atoms interacting or getting into the bond formation, there are these electrons which try to interact with each other, giving rise to a repulsive force. Next is the interaction of these nucleus, which are again going to give rise to the repulsive force indicated as R. But then there is one such attractive force which dwells between the nucleus of one atom and the electron of another atom, and that is the attractive force. Well, this attractive force is going to overpower the repulsive force and thus give us the formation of a bond. In that case, whenever a bond formation takes place, we have the two atoms approaching each other. So, do they mix up with each other? No. It's the overlapping of the atomic orbitals which takes place and hence forms the bond. Looking forward, let us look into the bond length. It is defined as the average distance between the nuclei of two bonded atoms. So when we have the overlapping of the atomic orbitals taking place, this particular distance which I have marked over here is termed as the internuclear distance. And in that case, the bond length would be half of this internuclear distance. So, do we have any measuring units for the same? Yes. It's the picometers or the angstroms which will measure the bond length. Majorly, our bond length depends upon the atomic size and the number of bonds. Since we have defined the atomic size, let us take the example of HF and HI molecule. In case of HF, we can see that fluorine is having a smaller atomic size when compared with iodine in the another molecule. So HF bond length over here is seen to be 0.917 angstrom, whereas HI shows me 1.609 angstrom. Obviously, it is due to the smaller atomic size of fluorine that the bond length is shorter, and in case of HI, due to the bigger atomic size of iodine, the bond length is longer. Well, in that case, the number of bonds also play an important role. It has been seen that a shorter bond is equivalent to a stronger bond, like in the case of the alkanes, alkenes, and alkynes. The alkanes show us a 154 picometers bond length. The doubly bonded carbons show me 134 picometers as their bond length, and the triply bonded alkynes show us a 120 picometer bond length. The alkynes are seen to be stronger as compared to the doubly bonded alkenes or the singly bonded alkanes. Moving forward, we are going to discuss the radius, covalent radius. Covalent radius of an atom is half the distance between the nuclei of two identical atoms bonded covalently. So covalently means by mutual sharing of electrons. So it's a H2 molecule whose internuclear distance is 74 picometers, and the covalent radius half, that is 37 picometers. Looking into the next type of the radius, we are going to see the van der Waals radius. Well, van der Waals radius is due to the presence of the van der Waals forces of interaction which are seen between two different molecules, or two separate molecules to be very specific, between two similar atoms. So in this case, we can have a look at the van der Waals forces of interaction using this diagrammatic representation. So we have atom number 1 and atom number 2 over here. The electronic distribution has been shown over here. But as they approach near to each other from different molecules, we are able to see that there is an uneven electron cloud distribution which can be seen. So the negative charges has crowded over here, which gives rise to an induced positive charges crowding in another atom. So this is what we call as an instantaneous dipole which has got generated. What do you mean by a dipole, students? Di means two and poles means the positive and the negative. So in this case, there's a slight negative charge over the first atom and a slight induced positive charge on another atom, which causes an attraction. And this attraction is what we term as the van der Waals force of attraction. And thus, we are going to measure the van der Waals radius. So for that, let us consider two iodine molecules, number 1 and number 2. So over here it has been seen that the internuclear distance is found to be 430 picometers. Definitely we have the van der Waals forces of interaction over here in play, and hence the van der Waals radius in that case is going to be half of the internuclear distance, and that is equal to 215 picometers. Next is the metallic radius. It's a measure of an atom's size in a metal structure, defined as half the distance between the nuclei of two adjacent metal atoms in a metallic crystal. So for that, let us knock down a chunk of this metal piece from here, and looking through a highly defined scanning device, we could be peeking into the internal structure of the metal. What do we see? We can see that the metal atoms are literally touching each other, showing us the internuclear distance in this case. Now, the half of this internuclear distance is what we term as the metallic radius MR. So altogether in today's session, we have seen three different types of radius: covalent, metallic, and van der Waals radius. So in this case, the covalent radius is found to be the smallest of all, followed by the metallic radius, which is on rank number 2, and van der Waals radius is the largest of all. Moving forward, we are going to look into the next parameter, and that is the bond angle. We can simply write it as the angle between the bonds. The technical definition goes in as follows. It is the angle formed between the three atoms across at least two bonds. It definitely influences the molecular shape, and the examples are water molecule H2O, CH4, that's your methane molecule, and CO2, that is your carbon dioxide molecule. One by one, let us see the structure and define this particular parameter. So for water molecule, I have the central atom oxygen located, around which we are having two hydrogen atoms. Now in this case, it has been experimentally seen that it shows a V-shaped bent molecule. So this V shape actually shows us the bond angle to be 104.5 degree. Similarly, for methane, that is CH4, it gives us a tetrahedral shape. So a tetrahedral shape in that case shows us a bond angle of 109.5 degree. Whereas in carbon dioxide, it shows us a perfect linear shape marking a bond angle of 180 degree. So that is what is the bond angle for different molecules. Bond order. It is a number of chemical bonds between any two atoms in a molecule. A higher bond order indicates a stronger and a shorter bond. For example, we are having the hydrogen molecule H2 with a bond order of 1, the oxygen molecule O2 with a bond order of 2, and the nitrogen molecule N2 with a bond order of 3. Can we have a fractional bond order? The options are yes or no. Well, the correct answer to this is yes. We can have a fractional bond order. For example, we can consider the carbon monoxide molecule, which shows a bond order of 2.5. The reason behind this is an unevenly distributed pair of electrons, which is the third pair of electrons between carbon and oxygen. Bond enthalpy. It's the amount of energy required to break open 1 mole of bonds in a particular type between two atoms in a gaseous state. Well, the question is, why gaseous state? The molecules are relatively isolated, and that minimizes the influence of the intermolecular forces of interaction. There is no such distortion which could bring an error in the bond energy. It is measured in kilojoules per mole. A higher bond enthalpy always suggests a stronger bond. More the energy required to break the bond, more powerful or stronger will be the bond. Well, in that case, the examples are as follows. We have the hydrogen molecule, which requires 435 kilojoules per mole of energy, and the oxygen molecule seems to show 498 kilojoules per mole of energy, and nitrogen molecule shows 941 kilojoules per mole of energy. Which molecule has the highest bond of enthalpy? O2, N2 or H2? The answer is quite simple. Hydrogen has bond order 1, which means that it would be having the least of all. That's the bond energy required to break open its bond. Oxygen is doubly bonded, which means bond order is 2. And nitrogen is bond order 3, which means it requires more amount of energy. And hence the correct answer to this question is option number B, N2. That was all. Thank you and happy learning.